Hi friends, most of you watch my channel without subscribing. Please subscribe if you like my stories. Have a good rest. Friends, today I'm going to tell you a dark story of how my wife's business trip completely changed my life. It was the end of July 2021. My wife Jenna had a quick work trip scheduled for that Thursday and Saturday morning. She was flying out Thursday afternoon and returning Saturday morning. This was a common occurrence in Jenna's job, so I didn't think much of it at the time. That Thursday morning before she left, we ate breakfast together like we always did. Jenna was her usual bubbly self, chatting about the upcoming work trip and how nice it would be to get away for a couple days. I remember thinking she seemed extra excited about this particular trip. At the time, I assumed it was just because she hadn't traveled for work in a few months. We kissed goodbye in the driveway as I left for work. "I'll call you when I land," Jenna said with a bright smile. Little did I know that would be the last genuine smile I'd see from her for a very long time. The days after Jenna left for her work trip passed by completely normally. We had our usual routine of texting each other periodic updates. Landed safely, about to take a cab to the hotel. She texted me on Thursday afternoon right after her flight. "Have fun at your fancy client dinner tonight," I replied. "Get the lobster. It's on the company card." Later that evening, she sent me a picture of the 5-course meal she was served. "You were right, the lobster was amazing," she wrote. On Friday, she texted me a view of the Chicago skyline from her hotel window. "Meetings all day, but at least I have this view during breaks." "Wow, gorgeous view," I replied. "You've got this day in the bag. Talk to you tonight." We had a nightly phone call, and she talked all about the clients she was working with. I told her about my day at the office too. It was also normal. On Saturday morning, she texted me before her flight back. "All packed up, heading to the airport soon. Can't wait to be home. Love you." I texted back, "I'll be waiting for you at the airport with bells on. Safe travels and see you soon." Looking back now, I can't believe everything seemed so perfectly fine and ordinary. Jenna was texting me just like she always did, giving updates and showing no signs at all that she had completely betrayed me and thrown away our marriage behind my back. I guess it just goes to show how easily a two-faced liar can pretend everything is normal while hiding the dark truth. On Saturday morning, I headed to the airport to pick Jenna up. When she got off the plane, she gave me a quick peck but seemed distracted. I chalked it up to travel fatigue. That evening, we were getting ready to go to my stepdad's big 60th birthday dinner. As Jenna did her makeup, she seemed quieter than usual. I asked her a couple times if she was feeling okay, and she insistently replied yes, I'm fine. At the dinner, Jenna chatted and laughed with my family like her usual self. If something was wrong, I certainly couldn't tell. Everything seemed normal and fine. The next day was Sunday, and we stuck to our usual weekend routine: grocery shopping, cleaning the house, catching up on errands. Jenna seemed maybe slightly less energetic than normal, but again, I didn't think too much of it. Monday rolled around and Jenna headed back to work. We texted each other little updates throughout the day like we always did. Around 4 p.m., as I was driving home from work, a text from Jenna popped up on my phone. "I think I have a yeast infection. Going to get it checked out when I'm done with work." I replied back, "A bummer. Those are the worst. Hopefully, it's not an STD lol." I was clearly joking around, but Jenna simply wrote back, "Haha," with no emojis or anything. That was unlike her, and my first clue something was off. A few hours later, before I'd even seen Jenna at home, she texted me again out of the blue. "That comment you made about it being an STD was kind of weird. You don't actually think I'm cheating on you, do you?" I thought that was an extremely strange reaction. I wrote back, "Haha, no, of course not. I was just joking around. Is everything okay?" She replied back immediately, "Yup, all good." Her quick response felt dismissive, and I started to get an unsettled feeling in my gut. Something just felt off. Over the next few days after Jenna got back, she kept complaining that her symptoms were getting worse. "The yeast infection is so painful and itchy now. "I can barely stand it," she texted me on Wednesday afternoon. "Going to try and get in to see Dr. Sanchez today to get this checked out again." "Oh no, that sounds miserable," I replied. "Hopefully the doc can give you some stronger meds to kick this thing once and for all." When I got home from work that evening, Jenna was already in bed. The doctor confirmed it's a severe yeast infection, plus a case of bacterial vaginosis. She told me wearily. "Did he give you some antibiotics or something?" I asked. "Yeah, he prescribed 2 different medications that I'll have to take for 2 weeks straight," she said. "I'm so over feeling sick. I can't wait for this to finally go away." "I know, hon, you must feel awful. Let me know if you need anything," I said sympathetically. Of course now I realized Jenna was straight up lying to me the whole time. She knew full well these mystery infections were STDs she picked up from her dirty one-night stand. But at the time, I felt nothing but concern and empathy for my wife's suffering. I brought her soup in bed, gave her back rubs, and made sure she had everything she needed to get better. Meanwhile, she was hiding this horrible secret that would shatter our lives. Clearly, she underestimated the shocking truth coming to light eventually. Her web of lies was destined to come crashing down, along with our marriage. When she got home from the next doctor visit, she told me she now had a diagnosis of thrush along with a severe yeast infection. I had no idea what thrush was at the time, so Jenna explained it was an oral yeast infection. I joked, "Yikes, with you being so sick, I'll have to keep my distance." Little did I know then how crucial that instinct would turn out to be. Looking back, Jenna's strange infections right after a work trip were a giant red flag. Something was very wrong. Jenna ended up basically bedridden for the rest of that week. She called out sick from work and spent her days in bed or camped out on the couch. I felt bad she was so miserable and trying to keep my distance. By the end of the week she was starting to improve, but things only got stranger from there. One evening, I got home from work and found Jenna already lying in bed crying. I sat down next to her and rubbed her back, asking what was wrong. She sniffled, "Oh, it's nothing. I'm just not feeling like myself lately. I think I'm going to start seeing a counselor." This puzzled me, as Jenna had never mentioned anything about struggling with depression or needing counseling. I tried gently asking if there was anything specific she wanted to talk about, but she insisted she was fine and just needed someone to chat with. I knew Jenna well enough to know there must be something more going on beneath the surface, but she clearly wasn't ready to open up to me about it yet. Over the next couple weeks, Jenna started therapy but remained evasive about what exactly was bothering her. A few times I came home to find her crying again. When I asked what was wrong, she would say strange things like, "Is this as good as it gets? Is this really what I want out of life?" She seemed to be questioning our whole relationship, which completely blindsided me. We'd been happily married for 5 years at that point, and she never expressed doubts before. I started to realize all these issues had emerged immediately after her work trip. My mind raced as I tried to piece together what could have possibly happened while she was away to cause such a drastic change in Jenna's mood and behavior. Then came the fateful night of September 17th. Jenna and I were getting ready for bed when she started crying again. At this point, I was frustrated and insistent on getting to the bottom of this. "Jenna, I know something has been going on ever since your work trip. Please talk to me. Whatever it is, we'll get through this together." She shook her head bitterly. "Now if I tell you, you'll never want to work it out." My adrenaline spiked, and I felt nauseous. In that instant, I knew what was coming next. Jenna choked out, "I had a one-night stand on my work trip." In that moment, it felt like the entire world dropped out from under me. Suddenly, all the red flags and gut feelings clicked into place. I felt sick with shock as Jenna went on to explain what happened. According to Jenna's confession, after she finished up with her client dinner night, she decided to stop by the hotel bar for one last drink before calling it a night. This was already unusual in itself. Normally, after work events, Jenna would just head straight up to her room to sleep. But I guess on this night, something prompted her to be more social. She sat down at the bar and ordered a glass of wine. That's when some random businessman started chatting her up. Jenna said he was in his 40s, tall and fairly handsome. She admitted that when he started flirting with her, it felt good to have the attention. The man asked what brought her to town, and they realized they were both there on work trips. They made small talk about their jobs and where they were from. Jenna mentioned we had no kids, seemed to offer up that personal detail all too freely. As they chatted, one glass of wine turned into several and both of them got more tipsy. Jenna claims she lost track of how much she had to drink. Apparently, the businessman was buying them rounds and she didn't want to turn it down. Around 3 a.m., after hours of drinking together, the man suggested they get out of there and go somewhere more private. That should have been Jenna's cue to politely decline and head to her room alone. But unfortunately, she agreed and left the bar with him. They took the elevator up to his hotel room. By her own admission, at that point Jenna knew full well where things were headed. But she went anyway, despite being a married woman. Once inside his room, one thing led to another very quickly. In her drunken, reckless state, Jenna's vows meant nothing. She gave herself to this stranger, betraying me and our marriage in the worst way. One thing led to another, and they had unprotected sex. Jenna swore she didn't even remember his name. The next morning, she snuck back to her own room filled with guilt and shame. But it was too late. The damage was already done. She had made the choice that broke us. I sat there in stunned silence, unable to process the nuclear bomb that had just been dropped on our marriage. Jenna cried and pleaded for me to say something, anything. Did he at least pull out? I heard myself ask numbly. I'm not sure, Jenna whispered. It was all kind of a blur. Now it was clear why she had come home from that trip with strange infections. This dirtbag had passed STDs onto my wife, the woman I loved and trusted. Jenna continued confessing through tears, how handsome and charming he had been, how he made her feel sexy and desired. I was utterly destroyed hearing these details. My wife had broken our sacred vows for a worthless one-night stand. After the initial shock subsided, I became overwhelmed with anger. The woman I loved and trusted had betrayed me in the most awful way possible. How could you do this to us? To me? I shouted at Jenna through angry tears. She flinched and tried to reach for my hand. Please, I'm so sorry. Let me explain. I smacked her hand away, unable to stand her touch. Don't. There's no explanation that could justify what you've done. You've destroyed everything. Jenna's face crumpled, and she began sobbing into her hands. I felt a pang of guilt seeing her like that, but I was too furious to comfort her. I thought you were different, Jenna. I thought what we had was real and meaningful. Now I see it was all a lie, I seethed. No, please, she choked out. What we have is everything to me. That one night was the biggest mistake of my life. You have to believe me. I let out a bitter laugh. Believe you? How can I believe anything you say? My God, Jenna, we're married. You took vows. And then you betrayed those vows for... What? A cheap fling with some random guy. She shook her head desperately. It didn't mean anything, I swear. I was drunk, and he paid attention to me. It made me feel wanted, but it wasn't real. You're the one I want to be with. Her excuses only angered me more. I gripped my hair in frustration, trying to make sense of how she could do something so selfish and cruel. I feel like I don't even know who you are, I said coldly. The woman I love would never sneak around behind my back like this. She would never have risked our marriage for a stupid one-night stand. Jenna sobbed into her hands. Seeing her like that would normally make me want to comfort her, but now it just filled me with more rage and resentment. I don't think I can ever forgive you for this, I said quietly. You'll never regain my trust, or understand the damage you've done. With those last bitter words, I stormed away from Jenna. My heart was shattered beyond repair. The woman I'd loved so deeply was gone, replaced by a lying stranger I no longer knew. The weeks following Jenna's confession were some of the darkest times of my life. I was overwhelmed by an enormous range of excruciating emotions: grief, anger, humiliation, depression. My moods were a roller coaster. Some days I could barely get out of bed, skipping work and laid up under the covers in despair. Other days, the rage would take over and I'd find myself yelling and throwing things around the house. I stopped eating or sleeping normally. I lost weight. I lost focus at my job. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. Jenna walked on eggshells around me during this time. She tried to gently encourage me to see a doctor, but I refused. I was too proud to admit how deeply this was affecting me. Finally, after having a full panic attack at work, I realized I needed help. My doctor prescribed antidepressants and anxiety medication. As the meds slowly kicked in, they allowed me to function again day to day, but inside, I still felt completely broken. The hurt and anger lingered right below the surface. Jenna continued trying desperately to make things right. "I'll do anything to fix this, anything at all," she pleaded with me, but it only rang hollow. She wrote me apology letters, sent flowers, suggested couples counseling. But I had zero interest. As far as I was concerned, the woman I'd loved no longer existed. Our marriage had been shattered beyond repair. For a while, we continued going through the motions, living together, but no longer emotionally connected. The love we'd once had was replaced by distance, resentment, and distrust. I slept in the guest room now. We passed each other like ghosts in the hallway. Occasional terse conversations about household logistics were our only interactions. There was no more laughter, no more warmth, no more companionship. Just bitterness, hurt, and painful memories lingering. Our once beautiful marriage was reduced to a hollow charade. The damage was irreversible. The deceit had poisoned everything. I knew the relationship I cherished was gone forever. No amount of apologies could bring it back. Jenna continued her therapy, claiming she didn't understand why she'd done it. She was desperately remorseful and wanted me to forgive her infidelity. But for me, that was impossible. The graphic memories were seared into my mind. Perhaps, over time and distance, we could gradually re-establish some semblance of friendship or civility. But Jenna's venereal disease, which she'd given me too, was constantly opening a wound. I just couldn't get over it. I tried to heal the broken pieces of myself through counseling and self-reflection. Ultimately, I realized I had to let go of Jenna completely in order to move forward with my life. After months of back and forth, our once beautiful marriage ended in a bitter divorce. I was devastated at first, but eventually came to accept it was all for the best. I knew I deserved a partner who would love and cherish me the way I did them. Jenna constantly apologizes and beats herself up over that one reckless night. I believe she is sincerely remorseful, but she can never undo the damage. Our romantic relationship had been destroyed the instant she made that choice. This painful chapter taught me so much about trust, communication, and the precarious nature of love. I am now more cautious, but still open to finding a true partner one day. For anyone currently in my shoes, stay strong. With time, your heart will mend stronger than before. Update. It's been 5 long months since Jenna's affair came to light and shattered our marriage. In many ways, I still feel completely lost and broken. The betrayal cut so deep, I don't know if the wounds will ever fully heal. Most days, I just go through the motions in a fog, not fully present. The sadness and anger follow me everywhere. I often skip social events and isolate myself at home, trying to avoid questions about how Jenna and I are doing. Last Friday, the 13th, was one of those bad days. It was pouring rain as I left work, but I barely noticed, absorbed in my own melancholy thoughts. I drove home on autopilot, staring straight ahead. When I reached my street, I suddenly remembered I had no food at home. Annoyed at having to drive again in the rain, I carelessly pulled back onto the main road. That's when I made the stupid mistake of not looking carefully and collided with an oncoming car. Thankfully, we were both going slowly, but there was still some damage. I sat there cursing myself as the rain continued pouring down. Now my crappy mood had caused an accident and inconvenienced someone else. I dreaded having to get out and face the other driver. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out into the downpour and approached the other car. The driver was a woman who looked to be around my age. "I'm so incredibly sorry," I told her sincerely. "That was completely my fault. I wasn't paying attention." To my surprise, she gave me a kind smile. "Please don't worry about it. These things happen," she replied gently. "The damage isn't too bad. Are you okay?" I nodded, taken aback by her gracious response. We exchanged information, and she reassured me again not to beat myself up over it. Her compassion was so refreshing after months of heartache and bitterness. The next day, I decided to call her to check in again and take responsibility for my careless driving. Turns out her name was Nicole. "No hard feelings at all," Nicole said right away. "But you know, a cup of coffee and some chocolate cake would make me feel even better." I chuckled, the first real laugh I'd had in longer than I could remember. I suggested meeting up that weekend. Over coffee, Nicole and I talked for hours. She was so easy to talk to. I found myself opening up about my marriage falling apart, though I spared the painful details. Nicole sympathetically shared about patience she loses in her work as a doctor. "What you're going through sounds so hard, but the important thing is you have your health and your whole life ahead of you," she said. Her words struck a chord deep within me. She was right. As long as I was still breathing, I had to keep moving forward. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Nicole and I started dating, taking things slow. After living under a cloud of gloom for so long, I finally remembered what happiness felt like again. She was my ray of sunshine piercing through the darkness. Being with her energized and motivated me. I started taking better care of myself, reconnecting with friends, and feeling genuinely excited for the future. I knew that with Nicole by my side, the next chapter of my life is going to be beautiful. I can't wait to build a family and share my world with her. Though Jenna deeply wounded me, I'm healing and ready to love again.